The UN says escalating violence around the capital of North Darfur has blocked a recently opened corridor from Chad as hunger and starvation take hold for hundreds of thousands of Sudanese, many already internally displaced from other regions of the country.
The United Nations World Food Programme is warning that time is running out to prevent starvation in Darfur, as intensifying clashes in North Darfur's capital, El-Fashir, are hindering our efforts to deliver vital food assistance into the region. Civilians in El-Fashir and the wider Darfur are already facing devastating levels of hunger, yet deliveries of food assistance have been intermittent due to the fighting and endless bureaucratic hurdles. This latest escalation of violence around El-Fashir has halted aid convoys coming from Chad's Tina border crossing, which has recently been opened as a humanitarian corridor that passes through North Darfur's capital. Meanwhile, restrictions from authorities in Port Sudan are preventing WFP from transporting assistance via Adre, the only other viable cross-border corridor from Chad.
She warns that access constraints are jeopardizing plans to provide vital assistance to hundreds of thousands of people ahead of the rainy season, when many roads across Darfur become impassable.
WFP currently has 8,000 tons of food supplies ready to move in Chad, ready to transport, but isn't able to do so because of these constraints. Our calls for humanitarian access to conflict hotspots in Sudan have never been more critical. WFP urgently requires unrestricted access and security guarantees to deliver assistance to the families struggling for survival amid devastating levels of violence. And we must be able to use the Adre border crossing and move assistance across front lines from Port Sudan in the east into Darfur so we can reach people in this desperate region. The recent surge in violence in El-Fashir is exacerbating critical humanitarian needs in Darfur, where at least 1.7 million people are already experiencing emergency levels of hunger, or IPC4 of IPC5.
IPC4 refers to critical levels of hunger, one below the extremely critical IPC5, which is catastrophic levels or famine.
I receive photos from my colleagues on ground of children in IDP camps in central Darfur who are severely malnourished, elderly people who have nothing left but skin and bones. Recent reports from our partners indicate that 20 children have died in recent weeks of malnutrition in that IDP camp in central Darfur. The situation is dire. People are resorting to consuming grass, peanut shells, and if assistance doesn't reach them soon, we risk witnessing widespread starvation and death in Darfur and across other conflict areas in Sudan.
28 million people in the region face acute food insecurity across Sudan, South Sudan, and Chad. The U.S. Special Envoy for Sudan, Tom Perriello, told the Senate Foreign Relations Committee on Wednesday that the default trajectory in the country was towards famine in an increasingly factionalized state that brings in regional actors and presents enormous and unconscionable humanitarian costs. Perriello said the fighting was taking on increasingly ethnic and regional dynamics, as he warned of the possibility of a failed state of 50 million people on the strategic gateway to the Sahel. Sherwin Briceby's SABC News, New York.